This is the first day of this July 2025 7-day session. I'm going to kick things off by reading the teachings of a great 12th century Chinese master by the name of Foyan. This is comprised in a book called Instant Zen, Waking Up in the Present. I've read from this before, but it's been a while. And this book was translated by Thomas Cleary. Just as a general overview, it says here in the back of the book that it presents the teachings of Foyan, Chinese Zen master recognized as one of the greatest masters of the Song dynasty, Zen Renaissance in China. Probably many of you heard about the Tang dynasty that ended in, I should know this by now, 900 or something, and then 800, and then following the Tang dynasty was the Song. And I'll start by reading biographical material about Foyan from our mother lode of biographical information, which is a book called Zen's Chinese Ancestors by Andy Ferguson. So his dates, more exact dates, are 1067 to 1120. That makes it the 12th century. He was a disciple of even more famous master, Foyan. He is one of three illustrious students of Foyan who are known as the Three Buddhas. And the other two, besides Foyan, were Fo Guo and Fo Jian. My apologies to those who know how to pronounce Chinese. I do my best, but it's not the real thing. You know, Chinese has 5 different intonations, 6 I've heard once. So everything depends on that, and I'll just do the best I can. So Foyan, Fo Guo, and Fo Jian. The word Fo means Buddha, hence the term the Three Buddhas. And it says here, at the young age of 14, and this is original material from centuries ago when I'm reading, at the young age of 14, Foyan took the Buddhist precepts. He then began by studying the sutras, Buddhist sutras, and practicing the tenets of the Vinaya. Vinaya is I don't think it's around now, not in this country or the West, but it was a very prominent school in Foyan's day that emphasized a mastery of the moral precepts, an understanding of it, and putting that into practice. So he was studying sutras, and he was studying the principles of the Vinaya. And then one day he read a passage in the Lotus Sutra. They said, "It is the Dharma that cannot be discerned by thinking. It is the Dharma that cannot be discerned by thinking that can be attained." So that's what can be attained, the Dharma that cannot be understood by thinking. So this had quite an impact on him, and he asked his Vinaya teacher for an explanation, but he got no answer. So Foyan sighed and said, "Doctrinal study can't resolve the great matter of life and death." And that's a basic principle of Zen. Zen, or Chan, the Chinese word for Zen is Chan. that it's the school, Zen is the school, or Chan is the school of direct experience. Direct experience. Not learning, not memorizing, but the experience itself. This Vinaya teacher who gave no answer, it's not assumed that he couldn't have come up with some answer. There were plenty of Zen masters who would respond with silence. So we just don't know the caliber, qualifications of this Vinaya teacher. So then Foyan set about on a pilgrimage south and began training under a Zen master. I won't clutter this up too much by saying his name. He's not a prominent master. I haven't heard of him. But anyway, he went to a Zen master, and one day as he was on takahatsu meaning begging for rice, during a rainstorm, Foyan slipped and fell, probably in the mud. And as he was lying there trying to pick himself up, he overheard two men arguing fiercely nearby. One of them said, "You're still defiling yourself." And at these words, Foyan had an insight. Had an insight. What does that mean? We don't know. Something that inspired him in some way. In Sesshin, it's not uncommon to have insight about your life, about people close to you, about your work. It's not to be confused with Kensho, awakening, but these are insights. As the mind settles, as thoughts settle, we clear the space for our innate wisdom to reveal itself. Those of you who've been to Sesshin before know how this works. It's out of nowhere. Suddenly you have a new take on something, a new perspective on a relationship in your life, someone close to you or not so, or maybe an enemy, someone you have trouble with at work or home, your parents. When I look back at my first few sesshins, a lot of it was working through issues with my parents, particularly my mother. I had a very emotional insight about my mother, and I went to Doksan and I said to Roshi, through tears, through sobbing, I said, I realized my mother has been working on Mu her whole life. Not literally, of course, but struggling with the meaning of life, meaning of death, what it is, what we're doing here. It wasn't Kensho, but it was important. Changed my whole relationship to her. It says, As he was lying there in the mud, he overheard two men. One of them said to the other, "You're still defiling yourself." When I picture barroom fights, I don't hear anyone saying, "You're still defiling yourself." So, yeah, so much of this is the translation. What would that be in contemporary language? It doesn't matter. Foyan had an insight of some kind. He returned to the temple to question his teacher about it, but the teacher would only say, "I'm not you, you can do it yourself." Or, "I don't understand, I can't compare to you." Now, this suggests that it was something significant, this insight. But this just increased Foyan's uncertainty. So then he went to the head monk and posed the same question. The head monk grabbed Foyan's ear and pulled him in a circle around the stove, saying, "You already understand." Foyan still didn't understand. I said, "I wanted you to help me. Why are you playing a game?" And the monk said, "Later you'll be enlightened, and then you'll know why today's song bends your ears." You already understand. The same could be said of everyone here, everyone in this room, and everyone listening. You already understand. That's why you're here. You get it. You're just trying to clarify it, make it more real. But you understand. No one comes to Sesshin who doesn't understand what this is. Here's another entry here in this book of dialogues and biographical information. It was a cold night, and Foyan was sitting up alone, doing zazen, and he got up from his mat and he poked deep in the ashes of a dwindled fire and saw the embers flare up. And he exclaimed, "Poke deeply and you'll find it. Life is like this." And then Foyan picked up and read some Zen texts about a former teacher. It doesn't specify what, but then it says, suddenly he penetrated the bottom of the stove. That's in quotation marks. He penetrated the bottom of the stove. The fundamental, we could say. The ground. You all understand the ground. That's why you're here. Then he composed a verse. In the forest of knives, a bird sings out, wrapped in a cloak and sitting up late, poking the fire and awakening to ordinary life. The great gods are overturned and smashed. In the glistening world are the self-deluded. Who will sing a colorless song? Realized once, it is not forgotten. The gate is open, but few pass through it. Let me pluck out a few lines. In the forest of knives, a bird sings out. In this world of suffering, there's still a bird singing out. He wrote, awakening to ordinary life. Nothing special. Ordinary life. This, just this. Drinking tea. Eating crackers. Walking down the hall. Washing the hands. The great gods are overturned and smashed. You could say that instead of gods, plural, you could say that in the Judeo-Christian religions, that God himself, herself, is overturned and smashed. No one out there, no one omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. No other but this one. In the glistening world are the self-deluded. For all of our afflictions, this world is glistening with perfection. And then realized once, it is not forgotten. It's because awakening is not in the realm of memory. It's nothing to do with memory. It's direct experience. The gate is open, but few pass through it. The gateless gate. The author here just mentions that Foyan is in the Linchi lineage, the Rinzai lineage, and that one day Foyan entered the hall. Entered the hall means the Dharma hall, and the assembly of monks, possibly hundreds of them. And holding his staff upright, he said, "Know with perfect clarity, it does not come from thought. If you have died, you can speak. Dive into the pit. Jump into the moat. After all, what is it?" Whatever it is, we know it can't come from thought. We want nothing to do with thoughts when we're doing Zen practice. It can be tempting because the thoughts can be quite fascinating. They have a freshness to them that makes them quite alluring, and we can find ourselves swept away in some train of thought. But that's not going to get us to where we need to go. No matter how profound the thought. If it's a thought, it's a thought. That's not our business. Psychological thoughts, insights, philosophical thoughts and insights, not for us. Another time, Foyan addressed the monks, saying, "A leaf falls, and throughout the world it is springtime." See the paradox there. It's often true that the closest we can come to expressing the truth in words is through paradox. That's why in Zen the masters are so fond of paradox. A leaf falls, okay, there we've got autumn, and throughout the world it is springtime. And then a few more things he says. When there is no road for pursuing thoughts, your laugh kills people. Down below is heaven, up above is the earth. And then he commented, this speech does not enter the flow of time. It is beyond time, beyond space, beyond convention, beyond sense, beyond logic or reason. Each person here and participating online can, in this coming week, experience eternity. When we enter samadhi, we're beyond time. There is no time. Time is a thought. Time is the whole notion of time is a thought construct. You ever wonder what eternity was? Find out this week. And then he tosses out a few more. South is north, east is west, movement is stillness, joy is sorrow. A snake's head or a boar worm's tail both measure up. Sparrows live in the wild tiger's mouth. And then he wraps it up saying, what sort of speech is this? Go back to the hall. And here's a pretty lengthy passage. It's just rich with metaphor. Foyan said, I say there are two types of sickness. One is to ride a donkey to look for the donkey. Get it? The other is riding the donkey and not letting yourself get off of it. Don't you see that riding a donkey to find a donkey is a fatal disease? From the very beginning, all beings are Buddha. This very body, the body of Buddha. He goes on, this old mountain monk is telling you, don't seek. Clever people understand right where they are. They give up the seeking disease and the crazy thought-pursuing mind. Once you've seen the donkey, not allowing yourself to get off, now that is a disease that's most hard to cure. This old mountain monk is telling you, don't ride it. And this is basic advice that will serve us through a sesshin and far outside the sesshin. Just let everything go. Whatever insights, whatever good stretches of sitting you do, just let it go. Don't try to hold on to it. discard, discard, discard. Dwell in nothing. Cling to nothing. You could even say that all of Zen practice can be understood as non-clinging. Another word for non-attachment. Attachment, though, so easily can be understood as just attachment to sense pleasures, and that's certainly the one large kind of attachment. But the ultimate attachment is not to food or sex or movies or all of the usual things, shopping, alcohol, drugs. It's attachment to our thoughts. So deeply attached to our thoughts. Addicted, really. Sitting 7 days and nights confirms this. How addicted we are to our thoughts, how hard it is to just leave them behind. Here's another attachment to comfort. That's something we are challenged to confront in sesshin. Attached to sleep, attached to comfortable temperatures. For years I struggled with whether to have air conditioning here and at Arnold Park. I just kept resisting. But then I came to believe that it's a kind of skillful means, upaya. That if we have some moderate air conditioning here, then there are people who are more likely to come to sesshin. And that's what could be more important than getting people to sesshin. The Japanese might just reflexively denounce us for having air conditioning. Where in Japan would you ever find air conditioning? But then the Japanese just have a special relationship to pain and enduring pain that most of us don't in the West. So if air conditioning will bring in the hottest months, humid months, will bring more people to sesshin, good. Come on. Let's work in the air conditioning. One of my all-time favorite words of Roshi Kapleau was, sometimes you have to give people what they want in order for them to want what you have to give them. However we structure Zen training will determine whom we attract and whom we don't. If we didn't have air conditioning and people sweated through 7 days and nights in the middle of the summer, the way we used to in the 1970s at Arnold Park and the 1980s, well, that draws a certain kind of person. Person who maybe relishes contending with adversity. Well, there's something to be said for that. We all are going to face plenty of adversity. This is a way, actually being immersed in it is a way to master it, how to deal with adversity. But as one sesshin participant, someone who'd been to many, many sesshin, said, isn't there enough adversity just having to sit without moving? The knee pain, the back pain, and so forth. He may have a point. How much adversity do we have to pile on? Back to Foyan, he says, you are the donkey. The great earth is the donkey. How are you going to ride it? If you continue to ride it, you'll never cure this disease. If you don't ride it, then all the worlds in the 10 directions are open to you. That is, if you don't dwell in it, if you're not attached. If you can get rid of both of these diseases at once, then there's nothing left in your mind, and you're called a person of the way. Then what could trouble you? And then Foyan quotes Joshu asking his teacher, Nanchuan, what is the way? And Nanchuan answered, everyday mind is the way. Another translation is, this is ordinary mind is the way. Ordinary, everyday, normal. Normal is another translation. Normal mind is the way. It's not apart. The way is not apart from this, our ordinary mind. It's a koan in the Mumonkan, number 19. This what he's referring to. Ordinary mind is the way. Here's another one. Foyan entered the hall and said, to realize the dharma of all the sages, just recognize that their dharma is none other than the dharma of ordinary people. Completely understand that mundane and holy are not two different things. If you get to the bottom of enlightenment right now, then you have gotten to the bottom of all future delusion. If you get to the bottom of delusion right now, then you have reached the bottom of all future enlightenment. Completely understand that enlightenment and delusion are not two different things. Why should delusion go on being covered up? Now, the bottom of enlightenment is no other than the bottom of delusion. There's only one bottom. It's the ground, the fundamental ground of all phenomena. He asks, so what is it that all the enlightened ones have realized? It's that when you penetrate common, sacred, enlightenment, and delusion, then you clearly see the source. I dare to ask you all, what is the original person? Teachers and monks everywhere have said, where can the original person not be seen? Distant water won't put out a nearby fire. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to travel anywhere. You don't need to look outside yourself. And then Foyan poses the question, apart from these two paths, what is the original person? Or another way of that's been phrased, what is our original face? After a long pause, Foyan said, but even if you understand what I'm saying, How do you realize it yourself? A lot of these words of the Masters, we can sort of, kind of understand what it is. But is that enough? Just to kind of get it? His point? Their points? Foyan is reminding us we have to realize it, make it real. Make it real means make it inhabit our whole body. It's not just something we can figure out, but we can live responding to people, to circumstances, conditions, day and night. That's making it real. Let's wrap up this today and right now, and we'll recite the 4 Bodhisattva vows.